Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I want to talk about the Fantastic Four. Specifically because we know that Marvel, Kevin Feige is going to introduce the Fantastic Four later down the line in the MCU, and I want to talk about some stuff that has been going around. So we knew that this movie has been in production for a long time. Since when did we first know that they were coming out with this? They kind of announced it in that Marvel Celebrates the Movies trailer when I think it was after COVID or during COVID. I think it was during. They did that Marvel Celebrates the Movies, and that was back when they had released, before they pushed everything back with, Love and Thunder and Multiverse of Madness and stuff like that. Because I think that was when Multiverse of Madness came... No, that was after they pushed Multiverse of Madness... for Spider-Man No Way Home to come out first. So at the end of that, we saw this Four appear at the end. So we're like, oh my god, they're actually going to introduce the Fantastic Four during this phase, because that was back when those movies were still labelled as Phase 4. But then I think when Quantumania, they kind of cut that to Phase 5. But yeah, I think that it's interesting because when you go through all these different stuff for the Fantastic Four, it's really interesting how, there's the different, cast members, and one of the very few cast members that popped up were Margot Robbie and Adam Driver. And I was like, those are great casting choices. I love Margot Robbie. Obviously, you guys know I'm a big fan of her Harley, and as the day I'm recording this, I'm going to see Barbie tomorrow morning, and then we also have Adam Driver, who was Kylo Ren in the Star Wars sequels, which I really like. So I was like, yes, that is the cast members that I want to see. Which, if you remember, when I did my Fantastic Four fan casting, I still had John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, because that was when it was still in rumor mill territory that he was going to pop up in Multiverse of Madness. I think it was then, and obviously they came out shortly after that movie, going no, we're not following up with John Krasinski as Reed Richards in the MCU, and even Emily Blunt showed no interest in playing Sue, so we just kind of went okay. So then more and more news comes out, and well, not more news, because people like myself know those two big names were attached, but until they dropped out because of money. And it's like, really? And a lot of people have been going for that part. Apparently, I think even before Margot Robbie, they wanted to get Emma Stone as Sue Storm, which that would have been another great casting choice. Of course, she has previously worked on the two Amazing Spider-Man movies with Andrew Garfield, and Andrew Garfield made his MCU debut in No Way Home with reviving those two Amazing Spider-Man movies. So you had the audience right there with Emma Stone. But then you went to Margot Robbie, who's just, I think, honestly, one of the best Australian actors or actresses of all time, with her role in Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, and The Suicide Squad. And then you also have, like, these other movies that she's done, like the kid stuff, like the Peter Rabbit stuff, and then also like the stuff that she did for more the adult market, like Wolf of Wall Street and I, Tonya and Bombshell and all these other films that she's been a part of that are more for the adult market. So, and also you had Adam Driver, who was in like Marriage Story with Scarlett Johansson, who Scarlett Johansson plays Black Widow in the MCU, or well, she did. And then you had his relationship with Disney because of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which was be a hit or miss with the fans, but to general audiences that just like seeing the story continue, that don't really know a lot of the behind the scenes of like there was no point and stuff, really like them. So there's a bit of a middle ground of like what you like in those movies. But I think that there is a lot of potential with using Adam Driver and Margot Robbie as the two leads of a Fantastic Four movie. We also know that it's taken place in the 60s, so it's not a modern day Fantastic Four. This is going to be part of the 60s, so we would presume that they are stuck somewhere. We don't know where, because you would think that they would have mentioned the Fantastic Four, because Doctor Strange did in Multiverse of Madness and go John Krasinski and said something like, "Didn't you guys originate from the 60s?" So that kind of sets up that like they are known in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but only someone like Doctor Strange would know them. Not like someone like Spider-Man or Spider-Man or Captain America will go like, "Oh yeah, the Fantastic Four, I know them." Because if they did do that, we would be like, well, where the frick were they when Bloody Thanos came? So it's one of those things where you're like, okay, this is starting to we're starting to get hints of what's going to happen with this. And also, it's going to be much like Spider-Man Homecoming, where it's not going to be an origin story. We're going to jump into the 1960s with them presumably already in battle with but we presume Doctor Doom as the bad guy, because I don't know who else you could use. Like, again, I only know Fantastic Four from the movie, so it's like you either use Doctor Doom, but he's a big Marvel bad guy, so I don't know if you would use him as like the other bad guy of the multiverse saga. And then you would also have, obviously, Galactus. But I don't really know who else would be the bad guy of that movie. You would presume Doctor Doom, because Victor Von Doom is, well, at least in the original two movies that Tim Story did, he was married to Sue, and Sue was married to Reed for a long time, but then they kind of had broke up and stuff like that, and she still really likes Ben Grimm as a friend, and obviously Johnny Storm, played by Chris Evans in that movie, is trying to protect his sister and stuff like that. So you get all these different rivalries when you use Doctor Doom as the main threat. But you don't really know if they're gonna like do some other bad guy, because it's like when you get a different bad guy, it's like you need to get the like the people watching that don't know these other Fantastic Four rogues gallery of villains. You need to introduce the audience to who this is and where he's coming from, because when you have like, at least when you have Victor Von Doom, people that have watched the previous movies, not necessarily the one that came out in 2015, because I haven't even seen that, but especially the first two, and people, even those two films have their audience and have their fans, at least they would know who Doctor Doom is. And like, even though that you did get Galactus in the second one, they would want the true Galactus and not the cloud storm monster. They would want the true robotic Galactus that would go in stuff like Lego Marvel Superheroes and stuff like that, right? So you have two bad guys that you have to play with, but I don't know. You would not be so sure if you would get someone else, like a different bad guy, for the movie. Because at least when you have those ones, you have some sort of past movies with them, so you kind of understand what they're doing, type thing, you know? But I was on board with Margot Robbie and Adam Driver. I am going to do a video just on Margot Robbie, because apparently, this is another point I'm going to bring to, that I'm going to get to, is that apparently they got, I forgot her name, but the chick who played, bloody Jason Statham's sister in Hobbs and Shaw, so Shaw's sister. I don't know her name, but she was pretty good in that. I like her, but I would definitely prefer Margot Robbie, because we're not sure if she's going to the new DCU or what. We don't know what's going to happen there, which I do have some things to say for another video about that. But we don't know what is happening with the DCU regards to Harley Quinn. Because we know that Lady Gaga is playing Harley Quinn in Joker 2, because Margot Robbie's take is very cartoony, that suits the DCEU, but not necessarily the Joker world. Because the Joker world is a separate universe than the main DCU. So we're not sure where she would hold up where she stands with Harley after the whole James Gunn Peter Safran announcement. At least that she will still have a superhero studio that would like to work with her and make her be, except for a villain this time that turned out that had a switch from villain to hero, someone who is already a hero who's fighting villains in the MCU. So I think that there are ways to do it, right? So I think that when you get to the movie in like 2025 or even later, there are stuff that are very, very like nerve-wracking about this movie, because we haven't got anything, at least with some of these other movies like Civil War and stuff like that. We knew Spider-Man was going to be it because they officially reported it, but we didn't know if they were bringing in Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield, or they were going to recast a new person. It wasn't until the second trailer for Civil War, that we knew that was someone new and not Tobey or Andrew. So the fact that this is going to be a full reboot and we haven't seen any news from this, like, obviously the people that in more of the headspace or more of the movie news headspace than I am, know that there are news coming out every day, but for the general public, we don't know the cast, except for that Adam Driver and Margot Robbie was attached. So that's all we kind of know, so it's kind of like, what are you doing? But yeah, I'm very excited to see where we go. I am going to do a video of talking about Margot Robbie in the Fantastic Four. So guys, please hit the like button down below if you haven't already. Hit subscribe, also hit the little bell icon to get notified for future videos that I make. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.